Do do do. Okay, we should be live. Uh,
But
Let me just make sure that that's the case. I'm gonna mute.
Stuck with it. Six to shoot. Control. Gives it to Cam. And King Cam.
Yay, we're live. Hello.
hello.
All right. Hello everyone. This is Dakota again. I'm joined tonight with Devin. So,
Hello.
so we're just gonna kind of start off by doing something new. I think. I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the stuff I worked on in the past week. Kind of like recap what I've done. This includes like what we did last week briefly and some of the stuff I did not on stream. So for our dwarf here, there's a bunch of stuff that I've actually done, mostly today. I put a little bit of yellow in his beard, a little bit of white, just give it a little bit more color. Darkened it up with a wash. I think it looks a little bit more rustic. Hey Tanner. Um, did this, what would you call that, a bedroll, and I cleaned up the cloak a little bit so it was a little bit more uniform. And then I did some flesh colors here, some kind of like golden flesh tone.
Flesh.
Nice little depth of color on these. Oh,
Nice.
my hands are shaking. Oh yeah, no. Some nice tones here. Mostly
Man.
working with like some of the warmer colors for skin. So that's most of my week. How was your last week, Devin? You do anything interesting?
Um, I continued working on a 3D model that I'm doing for my portfolio, which I guess is kind of applicable. But it's supposed to be rigged for a video game, and I am about to move into the stage where I paint the UVs, um, which is similar to mini painting because a lot of it has to do with you can add a certain color changes that will kind of trick your eye into thinking it has more polygons than it actually does, and like the lighting is, yeah. So that's my project.
Nice. So I am just gonna start us off by I'm gonna put some gold paint onto some of these details to kind of help distinguish the metal from the silver, or the kind of gunmetal color we have going on right now. Yeah. Move in here a little bit closer and start painting. Thanks to everyone that's joined us tonight. We're just going to be painting, hanging out, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We're here to talk about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to talk about tonight will be washes, and what a wash is, and kind of how you use them and what they're for.
It's
Um,
acrylic superpower.
yeah, they're really helpful. They what's a good word? It helps you weather. It helps you give depth of like color. It'll help darken down material. It'll make kind of details also pop out. So that's all great reasons why you should have or use washes when you're painting. So I'm just gonna pick out like these three little triangles here. Um, let's see here. What else should we get? I'm gonna do some of this hammer real quick.
Would you also say that washes kind of have a use in the context of like unifying the colors of a piece?
Yes, I think washes and glazes can help tie colors together, especially if you've layered them,
Mm,
such that when you go to apply them, when you either glaze or you wash, the colors are more tied together, more unified.
mm. Yeah, that is a similar application in 2D. That's why I asked.
Trent, over on YouTube is asking about the models that I was showing off earlier. Those are Games Workshop Shadespire models. They're like it's an interesting like card-based miniature game. It's kind of interesting. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet, but wanted to do some fun with the flesh tones. So that's what they're from.
They're very ripped.
Yeah. That's about most of Games Workshop's line is either
Yep.
clothes
Muscle boys.
or
There they
muscles.
are.
Yeah. Which actually, I like a lot of the quality of Games Workshop models. They can be a little expensive depending on like if you buy them for retail or, but generally the quality of the plastic is comparable to their price. Like these Games Workshop ones are. Tanner's asking a question about Kitsuki, one of my characters that I played in Shadow of the Cabal. The third tattoo was the balance tattoo that refreshed. It was Wolf, Storm, and Ocean, I believe. Yeah. I don't know
That's
why
a
he's
good
doing it, but
combo.
he's doing it.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we did a 47 episode podcast that we wrapped up a few months ago. I played a character on it that was like a monk type character for D&D.
A punch boy.
Yep. Tanner's saying that I won't answer him because I'm doing something else. So he came here to bug me. Yeah, no.
We're busy.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm just applying some gold here. I'm trying to break up some of these like silver details and give it a little bit more color. I'm just using a gold metallic paint. You can use whatever you ideally like. I think gold kind of breaks up the details and it's a little bit more dwarfy anyways.
So my thought, and I think this is what's going on with the color, is it seems like it's reds, oranges, and yellows for the warm color, and kind of the same sort of bluish for the cooler colors.
Yep, that's kind of the idea I was going with, I think. So that gives you like a good contrast blend, and I feel like it's very simple to also accomplish with if we keep it towards orange and blue since they contrast.
My favorite word.
Yeah, contrast. It will allow us to have a good image of how the miniature looks, and yeah. Apparently you're an ASMR stream now, Devin, just so you know.
Amazing. You can have my awful laugh now in this ASMR. The sound of shaking paint. The perfect ASMR stream. Yeah, so where it comes to that, I feel like it's kind of hard. Oh, sorry, what?
I was going to say, just see how much that's kind of made it all pop, too. With that little bit of gold. It's kind of broken up that silver at the hammer. It's given a little bit more color into certain sections here, and just gives a little bit more depth. But please, continue.
I was just going to comment on, I feel like when creating a color palette, if you have warms and cools, it's easier to have a range of like one or the other as opposed to have a range of multiple ones. So like if you have one cool color and several different warm colors, it tends to there's a easier balance to reach. Whereas if you have or like one warm color and a bunch of cool colors, because if you have like a bunch of the other, there's some strange things that can happen.
Yeah, especially if you have too many colors, it can start to get, I think, look a little busy, if I'm honest, right? If you have too many, like, warm colors to cool colors.
Yeah, I think there's an issue then with sort of focus.
Yeah. And that's why we kind of don't want to overdo the composition of the dwarf or the character. With like too much warm or too much cold in one section. We want to kind of have like a nice balance with a few key points where the eye is drawn.
And enough large sections of one color or value where it's easy for your eye to rest.
Exactly.
Because if everything is contrast all over the place, it's just as bad as having no contrast.
Yep, we talked about that last week. So if you're kind of curious about us talking about contrast for an hour, check out last week's stream.
I could easily talk about contrast for an hour.
You are an artist. You could probably write a book about what you know about contrast.
It's time.
Oh, you're almost graduated. You gotta find something to do while you look for a job.
Murdered.
Yeah, it's
destroyed on live TV.
Yeah, it's a very shiny gold Trent. It's from scale 75. It's their dwarven gold, aptly named actually. No, I'm not going to do a unified scheme for. Oh, Tanner asks, "Are we going to do a unified color scheme for the whole party, or are we just going to do them by each mini?" I personally, I'm probably just going to do them as their own, because that'll allow us to show off like different kinds of colors, different color palettes. And not everyone's going to have like. Especially in a D&D party, no one's going to be consistent across the board.
To bring this back to washes and glazes, would hypothetically a wash maybe perhaps unify them in kind of color?
Yes, actually. You can definitely do that. So especially with colors that are contrasting, if you like, hold on a second. So if I wanted to bring the dwarf in this, this dwarf and this like paladin closer together, I could wash over the green cloak with a little bit of blue and knock that towards the cold, and I could probably hit the red and some of the metals with orange, and I could theoretically kind of unify the two color schemes together, which is what I think Devin is trying to get at.
Yeah, oh man, a gradient from green to blue. Yes. Love those gradients.
Yeah, so I'm just about done putting gold on here. This is just a quick kind of deal. I'm just trying to get a nice kind of even coverage for all these kind of goldish details, and then we'll, I think, maybe try to do a pattern that Devin's asked me to do. See if I can pull it off.
This is patterns only for my Tolkien dwarves, please.
Yeah, well, I haven't done too many patterns, so I can't say if it'll be any good or not.
So, my thing with patterns when it comes to character design is that they are underutilized. Because patterns can bring, I feel like, a lot to a character design, because it kind of gives them a context and a detail, and it like is like, there was time put into this fabric. It is not just like a shirt off of a
pole.
It is not just a cloak, like a cloak off of a assembly line. You know what I mean?
I do. It's just one of those little details that will help tie the miniature together, especially since back here there's not a lot of detail. So we have a lot of, I guess, focus up here, but we don't have anything on the cloak itself. So by doing a pattern, that'll give the eye something to look at as well. Because if all we did was from the fronts here, like if that was all we expected someone to ever look at, that's fine. We could just paint what they see. But if somebody's going to be turning it around or looking at it from different angles, you should have like one or two different things that the eye can be drawn towards.
It's a 3D model, and if it's seen in a 3D space, it's got to be interesting from all angles because it is a 3D object.
Exactly. So I think that looks fine. I'm just gonna pick off this last little bit of detail here on the Warhammer.
Did we figure out what the backpack was?
So I looked it up today. This model is a Dwarven cleric. It's supposed to be like an anvil forge thing. I think it's just supposed to be kind of decorative, but no, I have no idea what it's supposed to be.
It kind of looks like a tuning fork.
Dwarven tuning fork. I don't know what that would be for.
Or like a pair of tweezers or something.
Tongs, maybe.
He kind of looks like a stag beetle.
I forgot. I did a little bit of work on the face as well. I did some lines here on the forehead. I kind of touched up the face. Kind of tied it a little bit more towards what I wanted after last week. Okay, so I'm going to use an off-white color. I'm not going to actually just go straight to white for this pattern. We chose white because the cloak is very blue, and blue and white just look nice together. Some good color combinations in there. Actually, don't know why does white and blue look so nice? Because I know like white and blue or gold and blue typically work really well with one another.
Gold because it has the yellow, and yellow is close enough to orange where you kind of get sort of the side contrast. White looks good with everything because it's kind of a neutral color. The only thing that I think white doesn't look great against is yellow, but that's because yellow is so light that you lose the contrast. And if you go dark yellow, it becomes either kind of an olive or a brown, which white and brown look really good as well.
So actually, I'm going to show people or try and figure out this pattern before I actually start doing it. Let me just get my paper here. What we're going to try and do.
It's very simple. I can do crazy. We can do crazier. We could do this. We could go even crazier.
So the pattern was...
One day.
And it was a bunch of little...
And there's 2 vertical lines underneath that, and then connecting them was a bunch of smaller lines.
It was sort of something like this, wasn't it?
Move your pad up a little.
Sorry.
Yeah, like that. Except I would draw 2. Yes, like that. Excellent.
So for this, what I'm going to try and do, because patterns are kind of hard, and you want to break them down into the basic shapes. Since we're working with a basic pattern, that's simple, but we're going to have to do this around a 3-dimensional object. So I'm going to try and do as straight as line as possible and work on it from there. I'm going to have very thin paint and try to paint on camera.
Oof, I'm nervous now. Oh man. I would just do 2 lines and see how you feel about it before adding the chunky square one.
I'm going to be very quiet because I am trying to focus on this. So Devin, feel free to talk about whatever you feel like.
I like patterns. I could talk about some of my favorite patterns.
Sure. Tell us about the Hungarian patterns.
That's what I was going to talk about. I'm a huge fan of Hungarian needlework. Honestly, any like needlework in that area in general. I've also looked at like oh my gosh, is it like Swedish needlework? So like anything that's embroidery or cross stitch, specifically in Hungary, I really, really love. And they do this really beautiful thing with a very, very bright red and a very, very bright blue. That looks fantastic. And I have relatives who are Hungarian, and I've seen it, and there's like a pillow that I own that has like it on it. It's really cool. But it's basically, if you think about cross-stitching, it's kind of pixel art, which is really weird if you think about it, because you're filling in these specific squares with color. But it's very fantastic. It's all very floral and complicated, and it's pretty easy to kind of like doodle with cross-stitch patterns and make your own. And I would encourage it because it's really fun and very, I guess, zen. It's very calming. But I really do like those patterns because there's kind of a very fun richness to it. The needlework is also very good. There's this very specific flower, and I forget the name of the flower, but it's red, and there's always a very specific way to like do the needlework for the embroidery, and it's fantastic. And I wish there was kind of a way to capture the sort of 3D nature of the thread in an illustration, but it's good patterns. And very complicated. I wouldn't necessarily suggest doing it on a small scale. But I would definitely say that patterns for character design are very important and underutilized because they're fantastic. Even like just stripes are great for kind of characterizing and filling sort of blank space and causing interest with sort of simple stuff. It's good.
So, I'm just working kind of slowly with a very nice, good tip brush with very thin paint. So it's not going to be a very opaque layer of paint that I'm applying. And the nice thing about working with this very thin, transparent paint is that if I mess up, I can go back over and I can touch up some of the details that I flubbed. Like right there, the line gets a little thick. So I'll fix that here in a few minutes. But Devin, you have a question.
Oh man, this is a tough one. I've forgotten every single media that I've ever consumed ever. I've definitely like gone crazy about character designs before, but of course now I can't think. Okay, actually no, I lied. I'm gonna go with a simple one. I love all of the Ralph McQuarrie character designs in Star Wars. But that might also be because I love Ralph McQuarrie. But there's specifically with like his like characters wearing helmets. All of that work is fantastic because it's kind of taking the face and making it these very simple, fun shapes. And kind of the way that his work fits together, the way he fits sort of sci-fi like armor and stuff together looks like a pattern to bring that back there. There's kind of this very specific line and edge and grates or whatever, and that's fantastic. Man, I really now of course I can't think of any other.
I remember a lot of the Japanese manga artists. I think more typically the female ones pay a lot more mind to patterns.
Yeah.
I can't name any off the top of my head, but I've seen some wonderful pattern work from
Clamp is amazing.
Clamp.
They do some fun pattern stuff.
Was it XX Holic?
Yes. Oh my gosh, their pattern work is crazy. A lot of the pattern work in the backgrounds. Gosh. Okay. So a lot of the background pattern work is actually done with screen tone, which is really interesting. But like, there's a lot of hand detail. I actually recently.
Okay, hold on. Slow down.
Okay.
What is screen tone for those?
It's a transparent film with a bunch of black dots or like black lines put down onto a page, and then you cut it out or scrape off it, and it can cause like a gradient, or it's a very easy, fast way without using a computer to add grayscale to your comic. I've actually worked with them. They are not as easy as you'd think because you have to slice it off with a X-Acto knife, and it's very easy to cut into your drawing. But they come in sheets that sometimes have like patterns on them, and so some of the backgrounds are that, and then some of them are hand done. But I have the one I'm thinking of very specifically is I have a Tsubasa
We're huge weebs
book?
Here at Shop Class, by the way.
We are, but they have some really great patterns in there. And there was this one person I saw recently. I looked through their book, and I think, let me see if I can find it. As you hear me typing in the background.
So I've already kind of flubbed up. I'm going over to kind of make the line a little bit darker with the color. You can see I've kind of gone over on some sections. My hands are shaking a little bit. I probably should have had less caffeine before this, but
Oh no!
it's fine. It's fine. The one thing that I would recommend is if your hands are shaking to try and cut back on your caffeine before you start trying to do really intricate lines. Drink a lot of water. It can help bracing your wrists. I it's hard to show, but I put both wrists down and I work kind of like this, just so I can steady my hands. It gives you more points of contact so that if your hands shake a little bit, you can kind of nullify that.
I found the artist. A friend of mine has this book, and it looks like this is like the only book. I don't know what else this person does, but their artist name is Jiro Shiro Shiro, and they do crazy pattern work in their character designs. It's anime. It's a very anime, and it's woof. I don't know what else they do. I just know that I was looking through the book and it looked fantastic. Does that answer your question, Tanner? I don't think it does.
It probably does. So
I like all the designs in Lord of the Rings because What a Workshop is amazing.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's what a workshop. Did
God,
I get
they're
a
so
little bit
good.
of orange in my paint? I think I did. So as is, you could just end a pattern here. You could do just a basic trim around the robes, and that gives it already a little bit more depth than it has. But we're gonna try and do a little bit more, hopefully. Tanner comments that we didn't mention his favorite manga artist, so we're trashing his eyes.
He doesn't work in patterns. His ink work, Tite Kubo. His ink work is fantastic, but he doesn't touch on patterns.
His backgrounds are also kind of crappy.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that is a lot of people who create manga have different people to do backgrounds.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Listen, I have two issues of Bleach in original Japanese from Japan. Like, I got you. It's fine. But if you just want to do like two lines of pattern, I think to not do like the crazy thing, I think in that context wouldn't be awful. I think it would look pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put a little bit of the blue and do some quick touch-ups for that. Does anyone have any questions while I shake some paint and talk softly into a microphone?
It's back to an ASM.
Good try. You done pouting?
English is bad. Would you perhaps maybe also drop some shading like blue or whatever in like the places that are farther away from our eyes? As in like the creases of the robe, perhaps?
Yeah. One thing I haven't done on this robe yet is highlight or darken it down. It's still the base color, so I haven't done anything crazy on that yet, but we will hopefully. I'm just gonna kind of get this base color for the pattern on here and try and neaten up my lines a little bit. The nice thing about transparent paint is that you can go over your mistakes and try and clean them up with a very, very transparent nature of the paint. I'm probably going to take this up to a very bright blue cloak and just you can see already just a little bit of the original blue helps to neaten up the color here. and make the line look a little bit better. So if you make a mistake, you can always go back and fix it. Nothing.
That's what's so great about acrylics, because you can work back into it forever.
Well, until it gets super thick, in which case, yeah, you're kind of done.
Yeah, it's true.
So I'm just checking to make sure my line is about as uniform as I can get it. And I think it is. So let's see here. What kind of pattern? So I don't know if I left myself enough room. I should have probably had the white line. Sorry. Should have had the white line down just a little bit further from the robes, so I could have a second pattern in there. But
You could hypothetically, okay, hold on, hear me out. What if you did a color above it that was only slightly lighter than the robe?
okay, so let's see here, slightly lighter. So I have a
So like a medium blue, because you
Yeah.
have a dark blue on it right now.
Yeah, give me a second. I can try something out. Yeah, that's about close enough.
I see that your preferred palette is also your hands. That is a relatable mood.
Well, the nice thing is that due to the nature of your fingernail, you can test the transparency of the paint you're working with by just applying a very thin line to your hand to test to see how transparent it is.
I have a bad habit, which you shouldn't do, of wiping paint off on my hand as well. Don't do that. Wipe it
yeah.
off on your palette. It's not good for you.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that as well. My hands are actually a mess right now for some reason. I don't know why.
When I was doing watercolor, I picked up a habit of doing it on my face too.
Don't
which
lick your
was really
brushes.
bad.
Just throwing that out there. Some people do that, and it's
That's
bueno.
awful. It's real bad. I don't remember who it was, but some professional artist, I saw a video and they were doing like work and they went to go like paint and then lick the brush and I like almost died.
Some people will lick the tip to get it nice and uniform. Yeah, don't. It's better for your health. Some of these paints should be non-toxic, but you still don't want to be putting it in you.
Yeah.
That's bad for you. So yeah.
So, okay, the thing about the face was I had like my hair would fall into my bangs would fall into my eyes a lot, and then I would move my bangs out of the way, and then since my paintbrush was up there and it was full of water, I was like, yeah, I'll just wipe it on my face, and it was just a bad habit that ended up happening. Also, no, you cannot link our paintbrushes, Tanner. Ew.
Yeah, that's kind of
Go away.
grody. As far as our water cups and our drinking cups, how I have it set up is I'm right-handed, so anything I'm going to drink with is on my right, and all my water and cleaning cups are to my left. So I don't make the mistake of either washing my brush out in my water or tea, and vice versa.
I have the opposite. I have everything that I need to paint on my right so I don't have to move over, and then I have my tea on my left, which does not stop me from drinking my paint water.
Yeah,
Which
your
I've done.
mileage may vary.
Yeah.
I
Just
think
don't paint while you're tired,
that
because
too.
that's when that happens.
So I'm just doing this. I took a little bit of the original blue, and I've mixed in sort of a royal blue, and that's where we're getting this kind of mid blue color. And I'm
Yes.
just applying it in the same process, just kind of trying to keep about the same thickness between the 2 lines. And
I think that looks pretty cool.
yeah. I'd also thought of doing like an orange, like ring around it, but I think
You could do okay, so here's okay, so here's the thought. You could do an orange. Why not staggering it between the white line and the edge and make it a dotted line?
um,
Because that way you would have less of an issue with keeping it straight and it would be faster to
so
keep
between the blue
thinning.
and the white, or between the white and the
And
edge
the
of the orange.
edge.
So all right, we could try it.
Yeah.
I don't know if
We
that
might
would
be
look
getting
too
a
busy.
yeah. I feel like if you do it, you'd have to do it gold in that context because that would pull in the gold.
Yeah, I guess I could try and do the gold. It's um, you don't really see gold like that in robes unless it's like a filigree. I feel.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah. Well, no, you can have like because they have those like blankets that are like shiny and then they have like the fur bit and they're like real nice and like soft. I don't know. I'm waxing poetic about this blanket now.
I am just trying to carefully paint lines, so excuse me if I go off camera a little bit. It is difficult as is to paint on camera. It's even worse when you're trying to do detail work.
Painting lines is not fun.
Yeah.
And you can't even use a ruler.
Nope. Unfortunately, I don't have Photoshop where I can make it so I hold shift to do a line.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to neaten this up a little bit in some sections. Same thing. I'll just use some of the original color here, and I'll get them nice and uniform.
Yeah, the white line really does a lot.
Yeah. I might hold off a little bit before I actually put a little bit of white on that line. I might do some highlighting, but yeah, I think that looks just a little bit of time and patience, and you add a little bit of a pattern to it, and it's just a lot more that you can have on a model for it. So I'm gonna start some highlighting, I think, and see where that goes. I'm gonna take some of this mid blue here and darken it down a little bit.
So, I have a proposition for this.
Yes.
Perhaps it may not be best to go super saturated on the cloak, like keep it a mid blue, like a mid saturation blue with like a more gray in it, because then you have kind of because the gold is very high saturation, is very like bright yellow, and if you keep the cloak a little bit closer to a gray, it'll once again be a place for your eyes to rest in contrast to the saturation of the gold.
Give me 1 second. Sorry, I thought something was getting a little too warm in here, and I was worried for a moment that something was overheating. It is very hot in this room right now.
Yeah. I don't know if you can hear my laptop fans. Same.
I'm just gonna kind of lightly do a little bit of this blue color here. I'm just gonna use this as the. I don't feel like that's too much. You feel like that's too saturated?
I feel like we might be getting a little too saturated.
All right.
I don't know. You do. This is your mini. You do you.
No, it's fine. I'll add a little bit of this kind of gray-white color that we use, and that should help desaturate it a little bit, right?
Mm. Yeah, adding gray. Yeah. I'm a big fan of like a desaturated mid blue. The more I think about it, I do that in a lot of my pieces, so that could also be my influence.
Well, yeah, that's the way you're contributing then.
A. Yep. There's a specific piece I'm thinking of. A specific character design where it's all kind of like this mid desaturated blue. Rough. But I believe the color combo for that is red and blue. Yes.
Ugh. Yeah. Don't live in an old house. It gets really hot in here.
Life
Uh,
lessons.
how long would it take me to paint something like this from start to finish? Um, I could have this probably painted in a couple hours. I've gotten, depending on like how fast I'm working and just kind of like if I have it really planned out, I could probably bang out a tabletop quality, which is kind of all right. To give a little bit of background, most gaming stores, if you're going to play games at the store, will have a rule called tabletop quality, which is 3 colors minimum on a model. So it could be a primary color, black and white, right? And as long as it has, for some reason, those 3 colors, you can play because people pay money and they want things to look nice. So you should put a little bit of effort, right? Um, I could have that done in not no time at all. People like speed paint minis and all that. I have a friend that has done a video, Scott Miniature Maniac. He's over at Maniac on Twitch and YouTube. He has several videos about speed painting and that he's picked up from Adepticon that are really good, worth checking out. A lot of the tricks are about adding value to a piece. So adding like highlights and things like that by adding like white or lighter colors to the piece as you go. But I could probably have done this in at least a couple hours, I feel.
What's the longest you've taken on a mini?
Uh, um, I've at least put 40 hours, I know, minimum into a piece. I probably put more into stuff. Um,
That's
it's,
relatable, yeah.
uh, I mean, it's like art, right? You put as many hours into a piece as you feel is necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
No, I just feel the 40 hours thing like a lot because
I mean, that's just
yeah,
like a
that's my
week.
pieces.
It seems like a lot when you say it, but in reality, that's
Yeah,
not.
especially when you space out your work on it.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to put some of these highlights in here where it would be the lightest.
Watch out, you're off screen.
Yep. Sorry. Yep. Details. I will do that to you. So I'm just.
You love microscope.
Some people paint with little like headlamps and things like that to either magnify or um, brighten up their piece.
Mm.
So right there, I've kind of screwed up. I've got a little bit of blue over the line. It's kind of hard to tell, but I'll fix that. I'll distinguish. I'll come over with the original blue, and I'll cross that section, and then I'll touch up the middle section when I go back to clean up my lines.
We'll fix that in post.
Yeah. I'll edit this out later.
Yeah. It'll just be a weird jump cut.
That's my editing style.
Yeah. One of those oh man, what is the name of it? That like old bad editing thing that came with every Windows computer that had like
Um,
awful transitions.
Windows Movie
Windows
Maker.
Movie Maker. Yeah. This is an awful Windows Movie Maker transition.
I mean, they actually don't ship Windows Movie Maker in Windows anymore. I think. I don't think that's
Yeah, no, I don't think they do. That was in the ancient past before I don't know. Before cars, I guess.
before time began.
Oh, yeah, Star Wipe, exactly. Yep. That like fuzzy like swipe that makes no sense.
George
Why is it
Lucas.
fuzzy on the edge? Yeah, George Lucas just comes in and edits this for us. Please.
Please help us, George. You're our only hope. Back in vampire times. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what that is, though. Yeah. Someone thought that, yeah, PowerPoint just worked in movies. Yep. That's amazing. Yes. I just want to see like that like awful shatter effect, but in a in a movie. Oh man, what if there is a movie that's like
Bad
had the
transitions.
structure of um had the structure of like a PowerPoint? That'd be amazing. Be really bad. Yep. His self-insert OC. Tennessee can't get over the fact that Lucas made his Mary Sue named Luke S. Yep. Self-insert OC. We all have them.
Hey, you guys. No, Yamanaki.
I heard that.
Good. Someone did. So I'm just adding a little bit of color here, and I'm leaving some of the depth or the darkest parts. What I'll do is I'll wash, which we're gonna do as soon as I get some of these colors just on here real quick. Just trying to be mindful of the pattern, and I'm just trying to get where the raised portions of the robes are.
So is your wash going to be for the deeper folds of the cloak so it can go over?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll apply an all over wash as opposed to like a targeted wash, and that will just tie all the blues together. I'll probably do a black wash. I feel like that'll just give it a little bit more depth because we're already fairly blue, so adding more blue doesn't really do much. I feel for this.
I would suggest throwing at least a little bit of a color into your black wash just because I don't know. That's a personal preference of mine. I'm not a big fan of pure black as a wash or like as a means of shading.
Okay, what
Um,
color do you think we should add?
I think just well, I think just like a little bit of blue just to make it so that it's not like that kind of gray color, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Not like a lot, just a little bit so that it's barely noticeable at all.
Okay. Always be crabbing. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I forgot. No, poor Benjiro.
I haven't drawn him. Put Tanner in them.
For those that are wondering what we're talking about, you're listening to Shadow of the Cabal, now available on iTunes.
Now coming soon to movie theaters near you.
All right, so
Available on VHS and DVD.
All right, so I'm just about done. Ugh, that came really close. All right. So already you can see that's added a lot more color and depth to it. So I'm just going to do this real quick on the sleeves where it's kind of visible. Just kind of pick that out. And what this does is this adds more value to the robes. So you can distinguish them a little bit better. And I'm just picking out where the robes kind of crease and fold.
Maybe, depending. Benjiro may make it into a doodle in reply to people in the chat. He may make it into a doodle. It depends on how I'm feeling. I've been doodling cowboys recently, so we'll find out what's next.
Why have you been doodling cowboys?
Because cowboys and flappers almost existed in the same time
Oh,
frame, and
that's
it's very
right.
important
I
to
forgot
me.
about that. That's my bad.
I also found out that I need to do some studies of cowboy hats, is what I found out today.
Some Stensons.
Some Stetsons.
Sten.
Stensons.
Stenson.
Stetsons?
Stenson.
Never mind. It's fine. This is like synonym all over again.
Is that my Discord going off or is that yours?
It should be. It should be yours. I have the sound in my headphones, so. Oh, it's Stetson. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tanner.
Where is that noise coming from? Sorry about that.
No, it could be mine. We'll find out. Uh, in the chat, also those deep shadows remind me of like the time that Mignola covered for Rob Liefeld and X-Force.
Wait, what?
Look at the chat.
What? I still question. I mean, that must be the best issue of X-Force, though.
That's a good compliment.
Rob Liefeld sucks.
No, but Mignola.
Oh, yeah. Agreed. Alright. So we're going to start doing some washes here. I'm going to probably start picking out some of these sections here. I'm just going to put a little bit blue on the sleeve. So I mean, there's any number of ways that you can do washes. You can make your own. You just take some paint and you apply water to it, or a medium till it becomes a wash. It's a fairly loose consistency. It flows easily. It's kind of like water almost if you move it around. You can buy some washes through any number of paint companies. This is Games Workshop.
You can buy washes?
Yes, redone. This is a brown wash from Army Painter. This is a blue wash.
Oh, I always make my own.
Yep, I mean, you can. Sometimes it's easier to buy some, depending upon your skill level, how confident you feel, if you're trying to get the right look. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a black wash on my palette here. I'll show you how it looks. This is just the black wash. You can see how it kind of flows very easily, kind of pools.
It's very transparent.
Yes.
Which is the point. It's if you have ever done a digital thing, it is like a transparent layer with low opacity in whatever your favored program is.
And I'm going to add probably a little bit of this base color blue that I use for the robes. And that will give us the little bit of blue that Devin was talking about.
Yes. Oh, I see what you linked, Trent, and it looks real good. Oh, man. I really like how there's no darks in the cloak at all for the top figure, whose name I do not know. That's real good. Also, that brick is very Mignola. Yes, Mignola.
Sorry, this is my calling. This is very Rob Liefeld. This is I do like it though. Well, his colors are always on point.
Mignola?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
For those that are curious as to what we're looking for, I'll try and include it in the show notes. Yeah, if there's one thing I could talk about for hours, it's probably Mignola. His art.
It's excellent.
So I am just applying this wash all over. And I'm letting it pool in the recesses, and I'm trying not to let it dry flatly on the flat surfaces. So I'm working the paint, working this wash nice and evenly over the model, just kind of coating it and tying all these colors up. And then we can come back later and clean up the wash.
Could you hypothetically dab like the high
excess
parts
off?
off with like a paper towel?
I use a damp paintbrush, but yes. The reason I wouldn't recommend using a paper towel is because mostly you don't want to take any of the paint off accidentally.
Yeah.
It's wet enough that you can use the paintbrush to remove the excess wash.
Yeah.
So
I mean, also, I asked that mainly because I was going to say, also be careful of that because it seems like the first thing to reach for, but you can get fibers also from the thing stuck in there, which is not fun.
yes, and I'm just gonna apply a little bit here in the darker portions. I'm just gonna let that kind of sit where there would be no light. So I'm just going to make sure I carefully just with my brush clean up some of the where it's pooling. Just try and make it so that it doesn't have any inconsistent spots where it dries. And already you can kind of see how it's darkened everything up and it's kind of tied everything together already.
Are you going to do a similar wash to the metallics, the metallic areas at some point?
Yes. Ugh. Oh, there's my throat going out on me. Yeah, I think so. I think I'm going to apply. I don't know. I might just do a black wash because black and silver is the easiest way to wash metal. It'll give it more depth and it. Yeah. I mean, the gunmetal is already a little blue, so I don't feel bad applying a little bit of just black to make the details pop.
Yeah, mine, I come very much from, in that context, from a very sort of traditional illustration thing where they always tell you not to shade with black, like pure black. But I feel like it's a slightly different situation with minis, but it's a personal,
I mean,
it's a personal thing
the
for
rules
that.
are the same. It's just I'm lazy and I don't really think it will add much, but
Hmm.
because this mini doesn't have much metal as far as like the chainmail is concerned. I have some of these like gauntlets to do. I was thinking about gold, but I'm not quite sure yet how or what color I'll do that. But so I just have a little bit of black that I've just put. This is just black paint that I've watered down actually. So I'm just gonna
An organic homemade wash.
yes. I'm just gonna apply this towards the shadows. The reason we do this is that we're working the brush towards where the point would be darkest and trying to leave in the section that would be lightest. So if this is like this, so in the case, this portion right, sorry, not in frame. This portion up here would be where the light catches it the most and where it's darkest is down here. So I will drag the brush down with this wash and I'll create a transition where it's brightest to lightest. But I won't use a black wash for the gold. I'll use a brown wash. Mostly because it is just looks better.
Yep.
I'm going to pick out some of the detail here in this like leather wrapping with a black wash though, because that'll help the details pop.
To talk a little in the context of 2D work, which is to kind of see it in a flatter context. I recently posted a picture of an acrylic piece I did, which is the dinosaurs with all the dinosaur with all the teeth. But a lot of the sort of general color cohesion comes from me applying like green and pink washes to the to kind of the green and pink areas respectively to unify them, which is why in parts like the weird teeth things are kind of greenish in areas, which tie into kind of the Microraptor's color.
So if I just put a little bit of the black wash and it's pooled into the recesses, what a wash kind of does best is it goes into the recesses, the depth of the feature, or excuse me, where the feature is deepest, and it will kind of pool and grow, come up to the surface, so which really helps the details come out. So when this dries, the darkest parts will be black, and it won't be as flat. I'll put a little bit here on this anvil. Oh, we're actually almost out of time today.
Yep.
All right. Well, I feel like this.
Well, he's almost done.
Yeah. So what I think I might do what's left is I have this section here, which I was thinking either I would do like an orange or brown. I feel maybe like an orange brown, maybe this section here, or I might do it like stone, maybe.
Ooh.
That might
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
Just kind of a gray would help kind of be neutral and balance it out. We have his gauntlets to do, and then there's some trim on the robes, and I might come back later and touch up the pattern here. And my camera's about to die, as you can see by the flashing light. But yeah, no, we're just gonna wrap it up now. We are, yep, my battery's about dead. I'm Dakota. I'm joined tonight with Devin. Devin, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at dgeorgestudios, and online, my online website is devingeorgestudios.com.
It's right there in our little notes. I'm Dakota. You can find me at Twitter at punchvestigate and at shadowofthecabal.com. This show is brought to you by the RPG Academy. It's a RPG network mostly focused around D&D and other podcasts, of which I'm affiliated with. If you'd like to support the RPG Academy, you can find us online at patreon.com/the RPG Academy. You can find us here at Twitch or YouTube at the RPG Academy. So with that, before my camera dies, it was nice painting with you, hanging out with y'all. So thank you. Have a nice night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.